In 1961, at Mosfilm, director Yuri Vyshinsky made a movie titled Submarine. The plot is as follows. The Cold War, the world is on the brink of a nuclear catastrophe, the World War III could break out at any moment, an atomic submarine deep in the ocean, and communication with the base lost. The captain is unsure whether the war has begun or not, whether to launch a missile strike against the enemy or wait a little longer, and one sailor took a dose of radiation, and it needed to be urgently removed from the ship and taken to a hospital on a floating base. But it was decided not to interrupt the combat missions for the sake of one person. Let him suffer. The premiere of the film took place on January 17, 1962. The viewers were in tears. But why, you might ask, cry? The submarine in the film is American, and the sailor is American and imperialist. This is how they treat people in the wolf world of capitalism, in a world of cold hard money. In the same year, while Mosfilm was filming Submarine, on July 3, 1961, an accident occurred on K-19, the first Soviet nuclear submarine, armed with ballistic missiles with nuclear warheads. Due to poor factory welding, the pipeline of the first reactor, and they had two reactors in this submarine, so the pipeline of the first reactor cooling circuit burst and the radiation sensors went off the scale. The reactor lid was glowing with purple light. The reactor cooling system failed and rapid heating of the reactor began. By the heroic efforts of the crew, an emergency cooling system was improvised. Officers and sailors who jerry-rigged this new cooling system, they received high doses of radiations, and right before their comrades' eyes, they began to swell. In addition, radio communication was lost. K-19 with one reactor was sailing on the surface to an area where, according to their calculations, other Soviet ships were supposed to be located. For 10 hours, K-19 sailed without communications, unable to report what had happened. Finally, they were spotted and communication was established using signal rockets. Death did not wait long. 8 people died within a few days. Then death reached others. No one knows how many of them died from doses that they had received. The Ministry of Defense official newspaper Krasnaya Zvezda reported on December 26, 1992, 31 years after the incident. The further fate of all 139 crew members of K-19 is unknown. And of course, Soviet people were not told about this incident. They were shown a movie about an American submarine instead. And at the same time, in a great Soviet country, the film White Blood was being shown, filmed by the East German comrades, directed by Gottfried Kolditz. The plot: a West German officer takes part in a nuclear weapons test in the USA, and the essence of this test: to break through the defenses of the Reds with a nuclear charge and immediately use this breach to launch a strike deep through the epicenter of the just exploded blast. Imperialists, what else can you expect from them? Attackers numbering only 7 to 8 people, all in silver suits resembling astronauts. But the cunning Americans don't expose their own people to radiation tests. No. They use their junior partners in the NATO bloc. The West German officer's suit tore, and he received a dose of radiation. The drama continues, the slow, agonizing death. He is treated, but medical science is powerless. In the final frames, the enlightened hero looks at the audience and whispers something like, "People, I loved you. Be vigilant." And again, the audience in the movie theaters was in tears. But 6 years before the premiere, on September 14th, 1954, at the initiative and under the leadership of Marshal Georgy Konstantinovich Zhukov, the same scenario was played out for real at the Totskoye range of the southern Ural military district. A Tu-4 bomber dropped a Tatiana, and Tatiana, it was a nickname for the first Soviet mass-produced atomic bomb RDS-4 with a yield of 28 kilotons, and it is almost 1.5 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. It was dropped on the prepared defenses of the, imaginary opposed force, after which troops rushed through the breach in the enemy defense through the epicenter of the fresh nuclear blast. 45,000 people. In the terrible film about the accursed imperialist, 7 or 8 people. In Soviet reality, 45,000. The NATO guinea pigs in the movie attacked in silver spacesuits, Soviets in paper capes. Americans exposed their junior partners in the NATO bloc to the test. Soviets exposed their own. NATO people were treated, Soviet soldiers are not. The official Ministry of Defense newspaper Krasnaya Zvezda on July 9th, 1992 reports such elementary precautions as deactivating equipment, deactivating weapons and uniforms were not taken. No special medical monitoring of their health status was established. Classified and forgotten, they lived as best they could without any attention from the state. Each gave a written commitment that was forcing them to remain silent about these tests for 25 years. 45,000 young men slowly or sometimes quickly died without the right to tell doctors what had happened to them. And doctors, facing for the first time symptoms of the diseases that are known to them, could do nothing to help. But that's not all. Participants in those exercises were not warned. Guys, it's better for you to refrain from continuing your family line. They returned home from service, they got married, they had children. And in the first and subsequent generations, they had offspring with soft bones, swollen heads, 3 legs to 1 arm, and so on. The Soviet people cried at the same time in the movie theaters over their movies White Blood and Submarine, upset by the imaginary crimes of NATO imperialists.